Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Traversing the Stars podcast. How are my loyal listeners? Thank you for your continued support. And remember to click that subscribe button, everybody. We have an amazing show for you because aboard the mothership is Kevin Cuffe and Bob Frantz. They're contributors to Lower Your Sights, which is an anthology book to support those affected by the war in the Ukraine. Now come on board as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Cuffe and Mr. Frantz. Thank you so much for coming to the Traversing the Stars podcast.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Going very well. How about you guys?
I'm good, but please, there's no need for Mr. Frantz. My dad's not here. I'm just Bob. Just Bob.
All
Just
right.
Bob works.
Will be Bob. Is it Mr. Cuffe or is it Kevin and Bob?
Kevin. It's Kevin and Bob. We prefer the informal versions instead of the dad verse.
All right, we'll go with informal Kevin and Bob. Fantastic. So I always start off with a question of inspiration. So what inspired your love for comics and who are your earliest influences?
Bob, you can go first.
What inspired my love for comics, ironically, was actually the 1989 Batman film, because I didn't have older brothers or cool uncles or anything like that growing up. So my first real exposure to comics was the Batman movie. I saw the Batman movie, and my dad and I went to the grocery store thereafter, and I said, I have to know everything about this Batman thing that I just saw on the TV and the movie screen for 2 hours. So I started reading comics because of that. I imagine a lot of kids my age will probably got into it for that reason. I'm 44 years old. It came out in 89. So like that was my thing. Like that's what got me. I'd say my biggest inspiration for writing comics or just writing in general is probably Kevin.
Kevin? Oh, that's so kind.
Because Kevin is he's my partner in life. He's my partner in comics. He keeps me going. Like I know that I got to make each book and each script really good, or Kevin's gonna get mad and yell at me, or he's gonna like throw stuff, and I just don't want to deal with that anymore, you know. So like I gotta try my best to keep the monster that is Kevin Cuffe happy.
Oh my God, Kevin! What the hell?
That might be, he wouldn't like me when I'm angry. That's probably semi-true. I don't know. Maybe we'll let people believe it's true. How about that?
So how about you, Kevin? What for inspirations?
As far as what started me on the love of comics, my dad served in World War II, since he was significantly older than my mother, and they gave the GIs comics. So when I was a wee lad, like 4, so he decided that comics were a good way to teach kids how to read. So he would take me to. We lived in New York, so we used to go to like a 5 and dime, and they had spinner racks. And so I would get stuff from the spinner racks, and at the time Hulk was like on reruns on TV with like Lou Ferrigno, so like I would get Hulk comics and stuff like that, Hulk and Spider-Man, Power Man, Iron Fist stuff, whatever was on the spinner, that's what you got back in the day. And so I would read those. I learned how to read them because I wanted to know what they were saying. He would have to read it, but I really wanted to know what is the Hulk saying. Like, so like it was very like to my like 7 or 6, maybe younger than that, the 5-year-old mind, I was like, what? So I had learned how to read before kindergarten or whatever due to comics. So I would say that's what makes comics awesome, in my opinion. And then as far as inspiration, I would say my main source of inspiration is probably Bob.
Oh,
You can't say that. You just ripped off my answer because I made a joke answer of it, then you stole my joke. You can't do that. That's not cool.
There's no rules to jokes, Steve.
I mean, you just stole my bit. Like, I just said that you were my inspiration, and now you're saying that I'm your inspiration. So, like, I'm fine with that. That's cool. Let's go with it.
Chaz might be my inspiration. How about that?
Well, I think it's kind of cool. I remember having a couple of arguments back in the time about the movies, Marvel movies, and everything else. And my argument was that the success of the movies helps build a comic book base because kids see the movies and whatnot and want to, or TV shows and want to be interested in the comic books. Now, most people are saying no, but these are 2 examples right here of how media inspired interest in the actual comic book form.
I think that might be right. But if you want to answer that's not Bob, I would say maybe Mike Mignola. Like I discovered Mike Mignola late, I was already reading other stuff, and a friend of ours, Bob and I's a friend who's an artist, was like, "You need to read this Hellboy book," and I was like, "I've never seen this before," and I was maybe 2 years into writing, and I read the entire library edition of one of the, and it was amazing. And it was by Duncan Fegredo. The first Hellboy story I met, the art was by Duncan. It was fantastic. So there you go.
I would say Hellboy is awesome. I actually can't wait to see. There's a documentary about him. I can't remember what it's called. I think Magnola and something Making Monsters, something like that. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's called Drawing Monsters.
Yeah, that actually looks really cool. I can't wait for it to reach my neck of the woods.
It's awesome. I'm pretty sure it's awesome. Everything Mike Mignola does is awesome. So big fan of Mignola and Arcudi's work on BPRD and stuff.
So you guys are both co-writers on a I guess it would be a graphic novel called Lower Your Sights. So how did your partnership first come about, and how does this partnership actually function?
Well, Kevin and I have been writing partners since 2015, I think so. This is the short story we did for Lower Your Sights, which I got my comps today, so it's right here.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so the story we did for Lower Your Sights was actually Kevin's idea, and sometimes that's kind of how it works for us. Like, one of us gets the inspiration to kind of do something, and the other one jumps on board, and we kind of move forward together. Kevin can tell you all about the story we did for Lower Your Sights called Heartland. It's a beautiful piece, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
It was like Bob said, it was kind of like a random idea. We were trying to figure out. Chaz Pinkburn, who is the editor for Lower Your Sights, had asked us if we wanted to do something for it, and we said yes, but we didn't know what we wanted to do. So Bob was like, maybe we do a story about soccer players, and we weren't sure. Like, I'm not that into soccer, so I was like, I don't know, like, if that really suits like us. Like, I don't know how I would help you write that. So we were throwing ideas back and forth, and I had saw the news the night before, and there was a young girl in a bomb shelter in Ukraine singing the Frozen song to people in the shelter in Ukrainian, which I was like, oh, and she was like 4, and she was so cute, even in that time of like utter despair, like bringing other people like their hope through singing like the Frozen song, who are all huddled together in this bomb shelter. So I thought about that and how music brought people together, and then also thought about things like Larry Hama's Silent Interlude from G.I. Joe, I believe it's 21. So and we had said for a while we wanted to do something that didn't have any words. So we were trying to figure a way to do that. And so I said, what about this? And Bob said, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let's do that. So that's what we did. And since we were doing it around music, I said, Chaz said, who would you want to draw it? And I was like, there's only one person I think that could draw it if we do this story. Otherwise, we'll have to do a different story. And please don't make us do a different story, because it took us a while to think of this one. And I said that would be Dave Chisholm, who has done Cannabis for Scout and Chasing the Bird for Z2. And Dave's art just kind of has a great musical feel to it. And Dave is also a musician himself. So there was really nobody else we wanted to draw.
So when you guys actually get to the writing part of it, I always find co-writing interesting. So are you guys writing in a room together, or are you one person sending the script and the person's reading it over? How does that all work?
The way we tend to do it is Kevin lives in in Williamsburg, Virginia. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we're pretty far apart from each other. But luckily, because of this World Wide Web that Al Gore created, we're allowed to communicate via that, which is fun. And we're also, so what we like to do is we kind of work on an outline. Like, Kevin and I will put together an outline of story beats. A, B, C needs to happen, and then one of us starts writing the script. It doesn't matter how we get from A to B, as long as we get there. We can take, a road less traveled, a few twists and turns, but as long as we get from A to B, we're golden. So that's kind of how we do it. And then sometimes if Kevin is feeling more inspired about an idea, he'll just kind of run with it for a long time, and then he'll tag me in eventually, and then I'll go in and kind of read what he wrote, kind of be the first eyes on it outside of his own, maybe edit a little bit, and then pick right where he left off. So it works pretty seamlessly for us. We've been doing this together now for, I don't know, like I said, since 2015. We've done 3 graphic novels. We're working on more books now as we speak. We have a Kickstarter getting ready to launch soon called Get Lit or Die Trying, that Kevin and I are working on with Nikki Nunes and Chaz Pangburn, who's the editor of Lower Your Sights. So, I mean, like, this is something that I don't want to say we've perfected the process of working together and writing together, but we've perfected it for us. This is how we do it. And so far it works really well. Wouldn't you say, Kev?
Yeah, I would say that the way we've done it the whole time has been one of us takes the first draft, the second person goes over it, like Bob said, and then changes things. Usually both of us are really weird, but we usually just change dialogue. We usually don't change panel descriptions on each other. We leave the panel descriptions the same. And our panel descriptions are usually just guidelines for the artist. We're not real strict on, like, we try to trust our artists on everything. We know that they're going to know better than us, or it's going to tell a better story. And so we usually just mess with each other's dialogue. And then it goes right to Chaz, and he will check all that. And if something sounds off or wrong, then whoever's free at the moment will usually do the edits. It could be Bob, it could be me. Bob really likes the edits. I don't have a problem with them, but I don't like them as much as he does.
I love doing rewrites. It's so much fun to me. Like, because it's like, I don't know, it's like trying to solve a math problem or something. Like, I really just dig the, like, because sometimes when you're writing, you feel like a ship without a rudder, like you're just kind of going. And then when you get rewrites, you go, okay, cool. Now we have a little bit more direction. I kind of know what I'm looking for. Chaz, being a brilliant editor, will kind of ask questions and pick scenes apart. So you go, oh, I didn't even think about that. So, like, then you get to kind of rewrite it and re-examine the thing that you're working on. So I really enjoy the rewrite process. So, it is what it is. But for the Lower Your Sight project, it was really easy. Like, Kevin had this beautiful idea, and he wrote the script, and I was like, dude, it's perfect. Like, it's just perfect. And Chaz also agreed. So, I mean, it was a really easy process. I think we put this together in like maybe 2 days. Like, it was just done. It happened that quickly. And it's a real honor to be a part of the anthology. I mean, there's some really great creatives in it. There's some really great work in the book that I have right here in front of me. I mean, and it's all for a good cause, man. Like, all these proceeds are going to the war-torn children of the Ukraine. Like, how can you not want to be involved in that?
So why was this project really important for both of you guys?
For us, it was more the idea of helping out like Bob said, the kids of Ukraine. So for when Chaz, like, all the proceeds are going to go to I can't recall the charity.
Voices of the Children. It's right here on the bottom of the cover. Voices of the Children.
Voices of the Children. When
I have
Chaz,
the other cover too, if you want to look at that one. Nice.
When Chaz told us that, we were kind of like, we're in. Well, we were like, we're in before that. Like, we were in just because Chaz said, hey, do you guys want to do this? And Chaz has been our editor on everything from Metal Shark Bro to Metal Shark Bro 2, which won a Ringo, to Get Lit or Die Trying, and pretty much almost every short story we've ever done, Chaz has been our editor. Pretty much. There's one we did for another anthology for the I can't remember what off the top of my head the name of that anthology.
Just keep going. Who cares?
All right. So he wasn't our editor for that. That was pretty much the only thing that we've got published that he's not our editor for.
So can you tell our listeners a little bit about when they approached you with the idea of doing Lower Your Sights? Were there any parameters on the story? Was there anything they said had to follow this, this box or that box, or were you given free rein to write about literally anything you guys wanted?
They just told us to keep it hopeful because they wanted it to be like an anthology of kind of hope and promise and
anti-war.
anti-war. So I mean, the parameters were pretty good. And like Kevin said, I had an idea initially about a soccer player because I watch European soccer. I'm wearing my Manchester City football shirt right now. I'm a big Manchester City fan. And there was a player at the time who played for Man City who was from the Ukraine. He was the captain of their national team. And he was going through a lot. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to kind of tell a story from his perspective. And Kevin was like, no, I got an idea. So like we just kind of went with that. But I mean, yeah, dude, it was just it was a chance to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And I work in education. I work at my children's schools, and I understand like the trauma that kids are forced to kind of deal with and live with on a daily basis. So, I mean, and I can only imagine what these children are going through in this country that's been ravaged by this war. So it's like, yeah, dude, if we can do something, if we can do anything besides like changing our Twitter banner, or you know what I mean? Like if we could do something impactful, let's do it. So we did. And it was weird for us too, because I mean, like Kevin and I are kind of known the thing we're most known for is Metal Shark Bro, which is a comedy book. So it was kind of weird to put on a different hat, a different writing hat to try to do something kind of more meaningful and impactful. But I think, like I said, Kevin had a brilliant idea, very beautiful idea, a very simple concept. So we just went with it, and here it is, and we're really proud of it.
So the thing with us, I mean, the war in Ukraine is a tragedy that's happening in real time right now. Obviously, real people are involved. Real people are being killed in the conflict. How much pressure was it for you both to portray this story correctly, to basically honor what's happening and do in a way that you think was, so maybe not the right word is positive for the situation, but at the very least pays respect to it?
We tried to be as accurate as we could, and that was part of the idea of having no words to it, and we wanted to actually use the lyrics to the national anthem as words. But the weird thing about it was the actual song wasn't technically inspired by the national anthem. It was inspired by another song that I seen a soldier who was in a band on YouTube sing, and it's actually called Red Verbania. And it's actually in the Pink Floyd song, the guy singing in that song. And I heard it just a cappella, and it sounds way different than it does in that Pink Floyd song. But and I was like, oh, that's something that like makes you feel something, because he obviously, you can tell the passion comes through in his voice when you hear him singing a cappella and stuff. So that was something that we wanted to kind of keep that kind of spirit of it in the comic. And that's why Dave was so instrumental to drawing it, and Josh Jensen was instrumental in coloring it, because we wanted to make sure that all the emotions were there, and some of the themes, like the claustrophobic theme on the first page, the claustrophobia you feel with war, and the hopefulness that music can give the community and bring them out of that sort of claustrophobic environment, and that environment of fear and negativity into one of community, even if your community isn't what it used to be, it's destroyed or ravaged by war. The hopefulness of them all being Ukrainian and having that common thread of that national anthem was what was important to us.
Is it hard, once again, because this is your story, this is both your babies, to give that level of control to the artist and trust that they can tell the story that you need them to tell?
Not at all. Absolutely not. I mean, because Kevin and I, the beauty of comics is it's a completely collaborative effort. It's something that, like, because when Kevin was even like, if I wanted to work with Dave, like he specifically had Dave in mind for this project. So I mean, like, if we wanted to work alone, we would write prose. If we wanted to work alone, we wouldn't work with each other. Like, comics is beautiful because it's 3, 4, 5, 6 people. It's an editor, it's a letterer, it's a colorist, it's an artist, it's writers, it's people working in concert together to create something bigger than themselves. So we never look at it as like our artist, or it's the creator, it's the co-creator. That's the mentality Kevin and I have always had doing this, because again, it's a beautiful story that we put together, but who the fuck would want to read it if it was just a comic script that had panel descriptions and, dialogue balloons? Like, nobody would give a shit. it's a collaborative effort. It's a visual medium. So when Kevin and I work on something like this, whether we work on anything, whether it's Metal Shark Bro, whether it's Lower Your Sights, whether it's the new book we're working on with Nikki Noon's Get Lit or Die Trying, our job is to just kind of get out of the way and let the art kind of speak for itself. Again, comics is a visual medium. So you can have the best story in the whole wide world, but if your art looks like shit, nobody's going to care. If the letters are bad, no one's going to care. If the coloring is bad, no one's going to. So it's like it all has to work together. So, you know, we were very happy to work with Dave. We're very happy to work with Josh, who we've worked with in the past on several things. Working with Chaz is wonderful. So yeah, for this was just like, this was an opportunity to work with people that we've always admired and wanted to work with. A guy like Dave. Dave's a super talented guy. So like, you know, yeah. So it was wonderful. Like just getting to work with Dave was fantastic, and to watch him work and to experience his, you know, his work ethic and his vibe was a lot of fun. So nah, man, it was perfect.
And one of the cool things about this project is that the names that are on it, you have J.G. Jones, Jim Zub, Matt Kind, Rich Dweck. How does it feel to be listed among those names on a project like this?
That feels great. I mean, that was one of the reasons why Chaz asked us to be on it. He felt like we're in that generation of up and coming comic talent. We're no Rich Dweck or Jim Zub, but we can try real hard. And that was the idea. So when he said, I said, if you're going to put us in with guys like Rich Dweck and Jim Zub, we need to get Dave Chisholm on art, because there's no way that, you know, we're in that ballpark. We're not in that league is basically what we said. And he said, no, you guys totally are. And let me get you Dave. If I can get Dave Chisholm, I'll get it. And he did. That was the craziest part, is we've had some interactions with Dave over Twitter and stuff, but not enough to where we could say, you know, Dave knows us. Or so Dave just signed up for the strength of the script and the project. So that was pretty awesome. And so we were really lucky there, and really lucky to be on a book with that many great creators like Matt Kent and Jim Zub and people that are way out of our league in comics. And that, it's weird to think of comics like that, but they're major league players. We're still in AAA ball.
I mean, and to be honest with you, if I can speak frankly and freely, like, it didn't really matter who was on the book. We just wanted to be a part of it because of the message and the cause and the message the book represented. Like, I didn't give a fuck who was on the book. It was just when Chaz was like, hey, we're doing this anthology for the Ukraine and everything's going to benefit, you know, Voices of the Children. Do you want it? It was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, let's do this. Like, let's help out. Like, let's give something bigger than ourselves. Like, let's be a part of this. Let's be a part of, again, is this comic going to stop the war in the Ukraine? It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. But is it going to help people who have been affected by this? Absolutely. So let's do that. Let's be a part of that. That's what I was more excited to be a part of.
So there wasn't any kind of, let's say, competitive aspect to knowing you're writing with people of that level. You would need to up your game a bit to
not for me. It didn't matter, man. Like,
no,
this was
helping.
This was more just about, like, Kevin and I didn't go into this going like, dude, we're gonna write a story, we're gonna fucking crush Zub, fuck that dude. Like, not at all. Like, for us, it was just like, holy shit, like, what an opportunity to be a part of to be a part of I don't want to say the solution, but what a chance to be a part of something helpful and that could impact people. Like, that's what it strictly was for myself, and I believe for Kevin as well. It was just the opportunity to do something bigger than us, because it's really easy in comics to be like in this small bubble and like, you're doing, I gotta get the next book but for this, it was just very much like, holy shit, like, we can do something that matters.
And leave
that helps somebody, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to be known as. Like, I want to be a helper. I want to help people, you know, and if our story helps, then that's fucking great, man. This interview helps. People don't know about the anthology, they don't know about Lower Your Sights, they hear this interview, go, wow, this sounds really great, I want to be a part of that. That's what I want to do, man. Like, I want to be a helper. I want to help in any way I can. And I can't go to the Ukraine and like pick up arms and fight against the Russians, because I can't, but can I contribute in the way that I can? Yes, I can. And that's with this story.
And that goes to the way we've done comics from the very get-go, because not long into our comics writing careers, we started a podcast together called Word Bros. And that is, we specifically did it because we both fell into a lot of pitfalls in the beginning of our writing careers, doing things that you probably shouldn't do. So one of the ways that we decided to help other people was to do a podcast together and interview people who are actually doing comics about how they make comics, because everyone's journey is different. And for this Ukraine thing, I'm sure our journey was different than, say, Jim Zub's or Matt Kint's or anybody else's that was on it. But for us, it was more a big thing. The bigger theme was, how can we help other people, and how can we do something that's a piece of art that resonates with someone who is in Ukraine or Ukrainian for this anthology.
Well, one thing I do like about the book Lower Your Sights is that it does bring attention back to the war in Ukraine. Because the war in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia has lasted quite some time now, I do wonder if people are being in this country beginning to forget that it's happening, because I find our attention spans are only usually good for a few weeks. Do you find that's a similar thing, that people are starting to turn their attention away from, because now it's kind of like old news now? It's like, oh, okay, it's just a thing.
Absolutely. I would say absolutely, because there was a time where when you turned on the news and it was on the nightly news every night, you'd be on ABC News and you'd hear about it. And now you hardly hear anything about it anymore. You have to look for stuff. And I do still look for stuff. And I'm sure Bob does too, because it's one of those things that, like they were saying, oh, if Russia invades Ukraine, it's going to be like a 3-day war. Well, it definitely wasn't that. And I think Putin definitely bit off more than he could chew, and didn't count on the spirit of the Ukrainian people, the fighting spirit. And they didn't just hand over stuff to him. They didn't lay down at all. And that's admirable in today's society, because you see a lot of people lay down for other things that they might not necessarily believe in. But Ukraine kept fighting, and they're still fighting now. And that is like remarkable if you think about what the initial predictions of that war were.
I agree completely. I mean, my students are who are in high school. I know I've mentioned the Ukraine war in the history class that we do, and yeah, they're like, oh, that's still a thing. It's like, yeah, it's still a thing. I find it amazing just how quickly it feels like Americans kind of just are kind of bypass the idea of it, just like,
Yeah, but to be fair, though, I feel like this country, without getting too, we've been in a state of perpetual war since 2001. So it's just like, at some point, I almost feel like it's just exhaustion. Like people there's always something. There's always someone fighting someone for something. And it's just, there's a guy in my neighborhood who had his Ukrainian flag up, who recently took it down to put up his Bengals flag. You know what I mean? So it's just like, people, they just, for whatever reason, it's just, I don't know.
I think what Bob's trying to say, people
priorities change. People just, it's tiring. Like it's tiring being
paying attention. That's the I would say that's the newest thing with it's part of the reason why I think comics is such a great medium too, is because as opposed to like film or something like that, because you might forget parts of a film, but you read a great comic and you'll remember that page that puts you there in that comic that gut punched you or had an emotional reaction. You'll remember that. It's not something you forget right away, because it's a still image and it's not moving, and the words or the emotions or the colors or the inking, something on the page gave you an emotional reaction, which is fantastic. It's like magic. It's so we get to be magicians a couple times a year when we get to put a book out.
So where and when can our listeners find Lower Your Sights?
I believe it's in fine comic book stores all over the country. And I believe you can also pick it up on Amazon and fine bookstores as well, too. Like I said, I just got my comps, so here they are. But yeah, you can get it wherever fine books are sold, wherever comics are sold. You can always go to madcave.com. I believe that's the website. Let me make sure so I'm not giving out bad information here. I think it's Mad Cave Studios. Just let me make sure. Mad Cave Studios. You can go to madcavestudios.com, and I'm sure you can order it on there as well. So yeah, dude, the book is available. Pick it up, get it, and again, all the proceeds go to Voices of the Children. So let's make this happen. Let's do some good work, man, and let's make art that matters.
Well, Kevin and Bob, thank you so much for talking with me. It was a great pleasure, and I hope our listeners do pick up your sites and help the people of Ukraine.
We do too.